Okay, hello everybody. So this is a spoiler review of No Time to Die, and the good news is James Bond did not die in No Time to Die. So how did I come to this conclusion? Obviously, I've seen the film 3 times. I saw first time in the Royal Albert Hall. Then I went to my local Odeon and saw it again then, just to confirm my ideas and theories. And I went to it a third time with a friend, and quite rightly, when he walked out, I said to him, he said to me, he had a feeling they were going to kill off James Bond. But I told him my theory, and he said, oh, that's very good, and he goes, as a writer, he's a writer, he said, that's excellent. He goes, was you told about it? And I said, no, I worked it all out. I just have this brain, if you like, that sort of sees these things. But I think it's basically because obviously watching films for years and years, and I tend to have an idea of how a screenplay writer goes about making a film. Anyway, a screenplay writer, he will take a story and then put all the elements from that story, the main ingredients of that story, and put it into a film. Obviously, people who work on James Bonds are very good screenplay writers, so they will not put things in there that aren't necessary. It does go wrong sometimes. I'll see a very expensive movie and then think, well, why did they have that in the movie if there was no need for it to be there? And it can be something really small. So if you're a screenplay writer, which I'm not a screenplay writer by the end of the day, you'll understand where I'm coming from with all this. So why do I think James Bond survived the bomb attack at the end of No Time to Die? Well, in short, very briefly, when the bombs come into the Savine's base, I think, as I remember, I've seen it 3 times, but I'm pretty sure there's like 6 holes with the blast doors closed, and the 6 holes open up, and the missiles that are going into Savine's base have what erupts around them as incendiaries or decoy flares, and these are very bright light decoy flares. That's basically what happens when the missiles are coming into a target. They release these decoys, these white incendiary flares, which are like fireworks really, and any ground-to-air missiles that try to shoot at the missiles coming in, they will chase after the decoy flares, because the ground-to-air missiles are heat-seeking generally, and they will chase after decoy flares, and the main bomb will go for its target. So if these main bombs look like they do have decoy flares, watch the film again, it's clear, it's right in front of you. The bombs go into the silos, but the decoy flares, which are like fireworks, are harmless fireworks in a way, probably less than them actually, land either side of James Bond. I've seen the film 3 times, so the high explosive bombs go into the pen, into the silos, into the Savage bunker, I beg your pardon, and explode upwards. They are high explosive bombs that just blow upwards. And what we see landing at the side of James Bond is a harmless decoy flare. One lands to his right, and then I think he just whites out left of the camera, and then goes all white. So an observer would think James Bond dead, but he's not. So backing this up in a factual way, if we see a high explosive blow up right in front of him, which has gone down into a silo, then they're accounted for. The only things that are left over are the decoy white incendiary flares, which are quite harmless, and we have to go with what we see. This is the point. We have to go with what we see. Now, what we'd see is the high explosive go into the bunkers and then blow upwards and outwards. But James Bond standing very close to that. But what we also see is the white incendiary flare go to like a few feet away from James Bond, or a couple of yards, maybe a bit further to his right, and then it wipes out to the left. And that's what we've got. We can't. And we didn't see him blow up to bits. We didn't see body parts go all over the place. You know what I mean? That's what we've seen. That's what the storytellers give us. We can't start making something up. But the storytellers are trying to tell us that he died. And why would they do this? Right. Again, it's a bit of investigation and a bit of my understanding of it. Barbara Broccoli keeps going on about the amazing jump on The Spy Who Loved Me, and when you see that movie for the first time, you just see James Bond fly off the side of a cliff and into midair, and you're just thinking, anyone would think the only thing that he could have on his back would be his rucksack, basically, you know, with his whatever equipment he has inside there. But as he's falling, even like somebody would say, this is a guy really falling, you know, he's going to fall, he's going to die. And how can James Bond possibly get out of that? And he gets out of it by pulling the ripcord, and that wasn't a rucksack, that was a thing that held his parachute. So the James Bond people like to make you think it's all over, this is the end of it. And that's what they've done in No Time to Die. It's no different. I think I'm looking at this from James Bond 25 to Bond 26 as that big jump of faith, that leap of faith that we see in The Spy Who Loved Me. That will be just they hoping that the fans are going to have their hearts in their mouth, they think, oh God, it's all over, James Bond is dead. But it's like the old Saturday serials from years ago, like Rocket Man and Superman Adventures, and you know, I think they had like whatever, Robot Man, all these Saturday matinee films, and a Saturday film would finish with the hero in an inescapable position, and then you wait for the following Saturday, before my time by the way, but he saw it on TV, like Rocket Man, and then the following week you see how he escapes it. So one minute it's almost impossible, and next thing escapes it. I know the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones films played on this a lot, and this is what's happening here. You have to believe this is what's happening. I'm trying to get I'm just trying to get a crusade moving. And crusade, come on, let's get a bit optimistic here. It's James Bond, he didn't die, you know, come on, let's get a bit more, let's get a few more people on board, start thinking like this. I'm hoping there's people going to warm over to my ideas. It might not be perfect, but we have to believe he's not died. James Bond's not died at all. So let me add a bit more meat to the bone regarding this particular idea that I've got. Right, let me just tell you about a few things that we see in the movie. What you got to understand, going back to screenplay writing and directors, they just don't say, I don't think it's not like a TV script where they say, oh, you know, John's got to go over there and he's got to go down there and that car falls off a cliff. It's not like that. Making a movie is a very osmosis creation. It takes ages and ages and ages to put something like a James Bond film together, and they hope to get tick all the boxes in that respect. So it's not just a case of, like, I thought Nomi, Lashana Lynch, played brilliantly, fantastic, and they were given all kinds of scares, this is woke, and they put enough fears on a lot of people to think, I'm not going to watch this, you know, they put a box ticker there. But when you actually see the film, she really fills the role brilliantly. You know, I wouldn't be saying that if I didn't believe it. You know, she really does pull off the new 007, and there's no airs or graces. You know, she hits the mark, and I think you have to give credit where credit's due. So, so I think as well, looking at it from the actual film point of view, as I remember, the people are sort of saying, well, it's the end of Daniel Craig's little stint at his 5 movies and they finished with that. No, no, no. Daniel Craig is the same James Bond from Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig, and Lazenby. It is the same man. And when we see the start, the titles, we see the animation from Dr. No, from Thunderball. There's a few more there that I can't think offhand, but it's all there. It really is. It's all there. So there's no distinguishing. This is not a standalone 5-film James Bond. It's from Dr. No to Thunderball. It's all there. It's all there. So we're told straight away there's no distinguishing parts to it. So then we have the very strong image of the Aston Martin V8, which featured in the On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and these are hints now that James Bond lost his wife in that movie. And we're told again, I'm sure it's like a roles reversal, that be careful here because James Bond's wife might survive but James Bond might die. That kind of idea. And then we hear music from Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's all these little telltale signs with references back to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And it's basically it's telling the audience to thinking, look, there's a connection here, between On Her Majesty's Service with the marriage, and it's now happening again. So let's get now into the actual detail of the final part of the movie. So talking about screenplay writers, and screenplay writers put things in movies that are very important. So, and you know, they're the gods. they're the people who say, look, we can make someone live, we can make them die, we can put them here, we can put them there, and that's what they've done. That's what they've done in No Time to Die. Okay, so James Bond's mission begins. The final part of the mission, I should say, begins when they decide to go to Saffin's Island, and the glider turned into a submarine, and they conveniently go to a World War II submarine pen. Right, remember that. So the submarine goes into the well-protected submarine pen, and they start the mission. We know that both Nomi and Bond have smart blood in. Now, I think this really did serve a purpose originally, and I'll tell you, but I think they sort of said, you know what, we might not need that, but we'll put it in anyway. And this sometimes happens with screenplays where they said, we'll need this, it'll be very important. And then later on they're thinking, well, we didn't need it anyway, but I'll tell you about it anyway. So they got some smart blood in it, in themselves, and they go up a spiral staircase, and according to Q's 3D map of this, the spiral staircase is slightly to the right, I think, of the main manufacturing lair where Savin works. So they go up the spiral staircase, again, watch the movie, go up the spiral staircase, and they exit left into the main factory camp lair that Savin works in. And we've got the rest of the movie where, you know, with Savin's kind of saying, like, I just think Savin, they said he wasn't a very good villain, but I think he just believes he's a god. You know, he's reached god status, and he's obviously been affected by the way his family was killed, and he thinks his existence just as there now is to he believes is to protect people. If you stay with him, if you come with him on his side, then he'll look after you. But this is like a theory of, as I understand it, a God, really, where you had Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, pushing a little bit here, and because they didn't do what God said, he just let them go into the world and say, like, get on with it, basically. And I believe that's the state of Safin's in. He thinks, look, if you stay with me, I'll protect you, but if you don't, off you go. And I think that's the mentality of him. I think the guy really thinks he is a god, and he's so far removed. If you go with him, you're going to be safe, but if you don't, then get on with it. And the world's an awful place. In his mind, in Savin's review, he believes, in his mind, he believes he is this god. He thinks he's making the world a lot tidier, and that's what he thinks he is. You know what I mean? I suppose when you look at it, he didn't really want millions. You can't deal with him, you can't bargain with him. I know the James Bond films where they're saying, I want to change the world, or give me some money, or whatever. This guy is beyond all that. You know, he was never. You can never bargain with him, really. He was. That was it. It was his world. That's how crazy the guy is. So that's Savin. I think I've got him figured out fairly well. So obviously now James Bond, Naomi, James Bond's wife, and the little girl decide to get out of the Savin Islands, and they get a dinghy, and Naomi, his wife, James Bond's wife, and the little girl get on the dinghy, and off they go. Now, the thing that's still left there is the submarine. Again, screenplay writing. So James Bond goes all the way up into the old control tower and operates the counterlever mechanisms that work the blast doors, which open, I think it's 6 blast door entries into Savin's Islands, and he says, right, release the missiles from the Royal Navy warships, and they fire away. So he heads back down into the back into Savin's base, hoping to get down to where? Where do you think he's heading? He's heading towards the submarine, right? That's his escape. He wasn't going to swim away from there, and there's a perfectly good submarine for him to get from there. So he meets Savin. He has a fight. He ends up killing Savin. Savin then injects him or scratches him for a second time with these nanobots virus, which I think he caught earlier on in the movie, actually, and because Savin has a DNA sample from Madeleine, he's able to reprogram everything to kill if Bond was to touch Savin, to to touch his wife and the little girl is now programmed for him to kill him. He gets in contact with Q to kill his wife and his child. He gets in contact with Q. Is there a way around it? And he said, no, it's everlasting. It's never going to change. So this is this is where I think people go, oh well, you know, he should get away, and you know, there's a way of getting around it, which there is actually. Why would he do this? Well, he's going out in a blaze of glory. It's a path that the screenplay writers, storytellers, the producers decide to take. I mean, it's something I believe that Daniel Craig really wanted to do. So he goes back up. He operates the blast doors again, and then gets on top of the tower. And because we're talking about Ian Fleming here, I think they read a passage like, if he goes, he's going to go in this blaze of glory. He's going to go looking death in the face. This is the way James Bond's going to finish it. And they've had a nod from the head's gone now. This is where they've had a nod from the old James Bond books, and especially, as it turns out, from Ian Fleming in No Time to Die. So this is how James Bond's going to finish it, and this is where all the real James Bond enthusiasts think this is it. This is the way he's going to go. And of course, the rocket attack comes in, and the bombs go off as I described them. So he didn't die. The bombs, if the explosions go off in front of him, the things that are lying on either side of him, the high explosives have been taken care of. They're accountable. We see where the explosive goes up, and now we see where the incendiary. The only things that are left are the decoy incendiaries that lie either side of James Bond. So he gets shaken. We don't see this part. It just whites out. It whites out. And then we go to MI6 headquarters, and they're having a toast, or like a commemoration, if you like, of James Bond, to say, well, you completed your mission. They read a passage about looking death in the face from, I think it's No Time to Die. You only live twice, actually, so that's another clue, isn't it? You know, you only live twice. You know what I mean? So that's the other clue. So come on, guys, there's enough clues there. Come on, you James Bond people, come on, let's keep going here. So anyway, and they all drink, and there's a glass left on the table that they clink it, and that's James Bond glass. And then we go back to Italy, and Madeline is driving the V8 Aston Martin into a tunnel and telling her daughter, I'm going to tell you a story about a man called Bond, James Bond. Right, so we're thinking, how does this now go to Bond 26? Well, this is the leap now, the leap of faith. Bond 25, he's going to die. He's died. Oh, Alan Partridge. He's died. So now Bond 26, this is how he survives. So Bond 26, in my imagination, and looking at the evidence given to me, I believe Bond 26 begins like this. I think we start back in the control tower with the second time. So Savin's dead, and we see James Bond, someone who's dressed exactly like Daniel Craig, opening up the blast doors again. This is the start of Bond 26. He goes to the top of the tower, and we see the missiles coming in with the decoy flares, and the high explosives going into the pens, and the white incendiaries landing either side of James Bond. Bomb goes off and protecting James Bond, because the blast goes up, and the incendiaries fall either side of James Bond. This is Bond 26. So the guy who's playing James Bond, whoever the actor is, runs past these incendiary flares. I mean, I suppose if they land on you, they burn you, like, so he's conveniently missed them. Then he goes into the spiral staircase, descends the spiral staircase, right, which is on the outside of the lair, although it's inside the tunnel housing. Is with the lair, I beg your pardon, Savin's high explosive World War II bunker place. It'll explode, but because it's such thick walls, the explosion will protect the spiral staircase, and it goes all the way down to the submarine. So Jane Bond could be at this time thinking, okay, I've been shot, but there'll be some kind of it's a mission after all, and there'll be some kind of a first aid repair kit in the submarine. They would expect to get killed or shot, I beg your pardon, so there'll be some kind of repair, first aid repair kit inside the submarine. So he patches himself up, and then drives the submarine off to MI6 headquarters. And I suspect M will be in the his MI6 headquarters, and he'll go into the side room where they left Jane Bond drink, like a bit of a memento, and they'll say that it's been removed from the table or something like that. And I suspect M will look at a shadowy person in the corner of the room and says something like, "I didn't expect you had died." And the guy walks forward, and the sunlight will then reveal this face of the new Jane Bond holding his glass up, and then drinking his portion of the drink left for him. And he'll probably look down and say something like, "You sound disappointed, Em," and then look down at his glass, oh, scotch or something, and he said, "I've got to return my daughter's little toy back to her," and he heads out. And then M would say something like, "Well, the virus inside you, Bond, will kill both your wife and your daughter," and he'll hold his watch up and say, the EMP watch that was on his wrist killed the nanobots. I've got a clean bill of health again. And if he says something like, "and thank you for me the next time you see him," and that'll be the start of Bond 26. And that's it. I think the producers have played a blinder, and I think they've made you feel like this. But a producer might just say, "Hey, we're storytellers. This is no more different than someone skiing off the side of a cliff. If you want to believe James Bond was going to die, and he pulls up a ripcord, it wasn't a rucksack but a parachute packed in the back of his rucksack, I suppose, then you go ahead and believe it. But don't underestimate the people who work on the James Bond. I think they've tried to pull the wool over your eyes a little bit, and I think you need to keep the faith a little bit more. And that's my review on No Time to Die. He didn't die. Okay, so let's wait for Bond 26. It won't be a reboot of a series. It'll be James Bond continuing, and it'll be James Bond will be his father will be Andrew Bond, his mother will be Manon Bond. They lived in Scotland, so it's just going to continuation. And let's have a bit of faith out there. So enjoy the movie. If you see it again, I'm going to say it a few more times actually. Okay, take care.